Good morning. It's about 3:40 here in the Philippines. Um, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here on this live video explaining what the situation is in regards to the wind turbines that are literally thousands and thousands of them built around the world, um, and the facts about what how low their value really is. Um, because this is a live stream and going to be, hopefully this is not coming through all distorted and everything. um, my background is basically in energy research. It is a private thing that I've taken on out of curiosity, and going back in time about 20 years ago, I had actually built a device that uses compressed air to generate electricity in a column of water. More on that later, but right now I want to focus on wind turbines. Um, when I look at these things from a scientific standpoint, it almost looks like they were designed to fail. And let me point out the reasons that I believe that that's the case. First of all, uh, they're designed as horizontal wind turbines, and um, because they're designed as horizontal wind turbines, the generators and the transmission to those generators have to be put in line with that, and that is some very heavy equipment, and that is placed at the top of the tri-blade wind turbine towers. And as a result, the towers have to be beefed up in strength to support the weight of that equipment that high in the air. The other thing that is just ridiculous about the design of those systems is the wind turbine blades themselves. The blades are extremely heavy. They're made out of fiberglass and in support structures within the fiberglass, and they are both massive in size and in weight. And those are also hung from that horizontal drive shaft way up in the air. Now, uh, if you go back into history to look at how men have used wind, uh, never in the history of man has anyone used anything as heavy as uh, fiberglass to make sails. And if you used fiberglass sails on a typical sailing ship today, it would sink. And if you talk to anybody who is designed in the sailing industry about making their sails out of fiberglass, they would laugh you out of the room, because everyone knows that the best sails are made from cloth, not fiberglass. Everyone except anybody involved in the design and building of horizontal wind turbines. Those people are dumb as posts. They did it. Did they make it work? They did. But man, is it expensive. And does it have a short life? Oh, their life is twice that of cloth sails, but 100 times more expensive. Dumb as posts. Boy, they sure push this real hard. We've got thousands and thousands and thousands of these piles of junk all around the world. But it gets worse. If it could possibly get worse than that, it does get worse. The fact that you are hanging generators against these wind turbine blades means that they cannot be base load. If you don't have enough wind to turn those massive fiberglass blades, you don't get electricity. And it gets worse. You have a very narrow range of speed that you can run an electrical generator. If it's too slow, you can't generate electricity with it. If it's too fast and you try to generate electricity with it, you'll damage the machine. So they're designed to actually slow down the input onto the shafts into those generators if the wind speed gets too high. So you're taking a very narrow slot of opportunity in wind by introducing these turbines to generators against the shafts that are being turned. It's a waste. Any of the wind before or any of the wind after is unattainable. It blows right through those systems and not changed into electricity because they can't. If there's no demand for the electricity that it could generate, it can't generate that electricity. It doesn't wait. When you turn an electrical generator in a wind turbine 100 miles from your house, that energy travels at close to the speed of light to your house for you to use in your outlet. But if you're not using it, it doesn't go anywhere. It can't go anywhere. It's useless. So, on top of all of these other mechanical design problems, they're designed not to be base load. And the opportunities for wind, I mean, wind opportunities are massive, but you've got to get rid of this base load disease that they have. Now, I dragged these animal designs into my lab and threw them up on a desk and started dissecting them. Within a very short period of time, I understood that these things were just useless. They actually cause more problems than they solve. So I picked them all up and threw them in the trash can, and I started over. And I said, okay, how can we use wind in a manner that will make it possible for us to have it when we need it, not when it's available in the form of wind. So what that means is, in my design, I have to get the generators out of the wind turbines. They cause more problems than they solve. So what I had to do is find another way to create, and it's not the right word, another way to generate electricity. And in a way that I could store it for a long period of time at any levels that I needed, and then draw from it when I do need it. So my turbine designs use wind on a vertical shaft wind turbine, and then the vertical shaft goes down to the ground to an air compressor, because you can compress air today, store it in a tank, and then draw that compressed air energy out of that tank in 1,000 years and use it to generate the electricity that you use it to generate the air compression that you did today. So that energy will wait for you indefinitely, as long as the tanks that it's put into are not damaged and the air pressure remains stable. You can draw from it tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, next century. So the storage of that energy in compressed air is very, very important to solving the problem. It now takes your wind source of energy and makes it into a base load device. And base load is the key here, fellas. Now, there's something else that happens with this. You can build a small, relative to what you see on the horizontal wind turbines designed today, but a small vertical wind turbine within your own township. Or here in the Philippines, it's not a township, it's called a barangay. But you could build one of these things here, put in some air tanks, and run these wind turbines to compress air until the cows come home. And if you need to store more energy for the times when you don't have enough wind to compress air, you simply build air storage tanks. And if you use the pipes to move this compressed air around your community, the pipes themselves become your compressed air storage. And the weather and the temperatures are not going to affect this at all because the compressed air changes very little with radical changes in temperature. If it's ice cold and the wind is blowing outside, the air still flows through those pipes without any problem at all. Now, has anybody ever used compressed air to generate electricity? The answer is yes, they have. And if you look over my shoulder, this is a generator that is run on compressed air. This generator was installed in the central part of Africa back in the early 1900s. The diamond mines there did not have access to electricity. So they needed to get electricity on their job site in the central part of Africa in order to do their mining. So what they did is they put in rail cars, which they were using to bring in the in and out the equipment to do their mining and to bring the minings out to the coast so that they could put them on a ship and send them around the world. They used this railroad track along with air tank cars. They took the empty cars onto the coast where there was electricity because they had a large in the city electrical generation plant that gave them steam. And they used those steam generators to fill those tanker cars full of compressed air. And we're talking about hundreds of cars here, not 10 of them. So they would fill up these 100 cars with compressed air, and then they would bring that compressed air on the train to the central part of Africa, where they would take that compressed air and blow it through a generator to generate their electricity when they need it. And while this machine, this air turbine, which is very inefficient, by the way, was using the air that they had brought, a second 100 cars was on the coast and being refilled to replace the other ones that had just been emptied. And they would continually cycle these sets of cars between the central part of Africa in the coast. So using compressed air to generate electricity is not a new science. It's already been done. It wasn't done very well, but there are methods of generating electricity back then weren't very good either. So the possibility of using compressed air to generate electricity is not a theory. It has been done in the past. What my intention is to, through YouTube, to start bringing this information to people generally, to the public. So if you want to get an electrical power supply in your local community that is going to reduce your electric bills by 90%, you need to help me get this information out where people can see it. And I'll be posting a number of videos explaining different aspects of this entire process. But if you would subscribe to the channel and, and even mention or make a comment below, and that would help the logarithms for people to see my videos. But what's more important and would has the greatest advantage is if you would go down into the share video and click on that, and then that will ask you for your email contacts so that the stream would send an email to everybody who you know suggesting that they watch this video. Now, if you might think that somebody may not be interested and they really would, or you might think somebody would be interested and they really wouldn't. So while your Uncle Mike, who you think might be interested in something like this, would look at that invitation from you and say, I'm not interested in that, and would just click off of it. But your grandma Mary would look at that and click on it to watch it because she's interested in that, because she knows how important the impact would be for the income on her family generally to have her electric costs dropped by 90%. And every time I get another click on somebody watching this video, the availability of it becomes more pronounced on YouTube, and I get more people watching it. And as a result of that, there are people who are knowledgeable about mechanical builds who might see this video and say, you know what, I would like to see one of those built in my hometown. And this fella happens to be a millionaire. He calls me up and says, okay, Mr. Guard, tell me what we would have to do to build one of these in my town. And at that point, I would immediately go there and sit down with him and his people and start putting this thing together to get it up and running. And while we're doing that, we would be doing a lot of live streams on the build so that people could actually see the first one being built and switching it on, and then reporting on the cost of electricity for the people within that community. Now, the way that works is the community builds this machine, the community owns this machine, and the community draws electricity from this machine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their electricity costs, because it is their own local community government that is taking care of it for them, can't make a profit. Their electricity costs drop by 90%. So the biggest problem that we have in the world right now, renewable energy, is solved on a local scale, but in solving that on a local scale, it's also solved on a worldwide scale. Because now electricity becomes exactly like clean water is in these communities. The community government cannot profit on the clean water that they sell. They can only charge what they need to keep the clean water system up and running. Now, the same exact thing happens with electricity, and all of our electricity costs drop like a rock. Now, again, if you can help me, if you want to help me, subscribe to the channel and then share with everybody you know in your email list and encourage them to come watch this video too, and to begin watching the other videos that I will be producing that will explain in detail of the entire process and system, how it works. I am not patenting any of this. It is not something that I think should be patented. I believe it's something that the people need to solve some very serious energy problems around the world. And if you think that are with you, and you also want to help me get this forward, because the minute that we start doing this, we start shutting down all of these fossil fuel uses for electricity and never have to restart them again. So sign up, uh, send me a message down below, and send the messages out to your friends. Thanks.